ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददान्ति सुपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं स्यां। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पदे गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। भक्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराण श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीरधारी कृपाम्बुदीर्घस्तमहं प्रपद्ये। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा हरि ओम सच। So welcome all the devotees for today's teachings of Lord Chaitanya session. So I will share the book here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, ഇതുണ്ടല്ലോ ഇന്നോവേഷൻ പ്രയർ ഉണ്ടല്ലോ ഒന്ന് വാട്സ്ആപ്പ് ചെയ്യാവോ ഗ്രൂപ്പില്?
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you.
I think we have to start from here if we wish to become fully Krishna conscious. Am I right?
Yes,
Rupeshri
Prabhuji.
Mataji.
Correct, Prabhuji.
Yes, very good. So let's begin. So from teachings of Lord Chaitanya, we are reading the introduction. If we wish to become fully Krishna conscious, we have to give up the shackles of Maya. Or if we remain with Maya, we should live in such a way that we will not be subject to illusion, as did the many householders among Lord Chaitanya's closest devotees. With his followers in the renounced order, however, Lord Chaitanya was very strict. He even banished Junior Haridasa, an important Kirtana leader, for glancing lustfully at a woman. The Lord told him, "You are living with me in a renounced order, and yet you are looking at a woman with lust." Other devotees of the Lord had appealed to him to forgive Haridasa, but he replied, "All of you can forgive him and live with him. I shall live alone." On the other hand, when the Lord learned that the wife of one of his householder devotees was pregnant, he asked that the baby be given a certain auspicious name. So while the Lord approved of householders having regulated sex, he was like a thunderbolt with those in the renounced order who tried to cheat by the method known as drinking water underwater while bathing on a fast day. In other words, he tolerated no hypocrisy among his followers. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very strict with the devotees who are renounced in the renounced order of life. But at the same time, he was very, very forgiving in nature to the household devotees. So it was the regulated sense gratification he allowed for Grihastha devotees. The case is of the Haridasa Thakur, not Junior Haridasa. He was also a close devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was in the renounced order. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to know that he was just looking a woman with lust. So he immediately banished. So many other close associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested him, please accept him. He is repenting. and he's really, you know, in a very, very bad shape without your association. He wants your association. He repented, and he will never have such a thought in even in his mind. You know, it was just a look that he glanced, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand, being the Supreme Lord, he could understand that it is not normal look. So he vanished and never ever met him. And he went to the ocean, and it seems that he committed suicide. But then later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you know, he has gone back home, back to Godhead. He confirmed that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, because this is not to punish Chota Haridasa, but to teach all of us lesson. A person who is in the renounced order, you know, should never behave in such a manner that will bring bad name to the society. And if at all somebody cannot take that ashrama, they should remain in Grihastha ashrama and lead a householder life, Grihastha life. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us. So according to different devotees, he has a different dealing. So from each dealings, we have to take a lesson. So here, Prabhupada takes very nicely, you know, states this very nicely. He asks that the baby, okay. So while the Lord approved of householders having regulated sex, he was like a thunderbolt with those in the renounced order who tried to cheat by the method known as drinking water underwater while bathing on a fast day. So we are fasting, and when you go to the river, as if you are going for a, you know, bath, and when you go, you know, dive into this thing, and you are drinking water. So this is cheating. So very nice, drinking water underwater while bathing on a fast day. Okay, in other words, he tolerated no hypocrisy among his devotees. We don't want show bottle, you know, renunciates. That is what he means. If you can follow strictly, you renounce. Otherwise, don't renounce. Be in the Grihastha ashrama and live a regulated life. This is what the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. So with each devotee, he has a particular type of dealing according to his status, according to the devotee status. So whichever ashrama, whichever varna he is, they are in, accordingly he will have it. So from each dealings, there is a lessons that we learned. Okay, so any questions or any comments? Yes, Gopi Prabhu, you want to?
Prabhuji, even Grihastha life also, this association of even with one or daughter or sister or even this one also to be regulated until unless you don't have any business with this lady female, you should not mingle with them even in the house.
Yeah, that is that. So it's a strict instruction also, because that is a even the Lord Brahma got bewildered. So that's a lesson for, you know, us also. Even Lord Brahma, he got bewildered with his own daughter. So that is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam also. So as far as possible, the opposite sex, we have to be very carefully, you know, we have to be dealing very carefully. So that is there definitely. So it is that very strictly given in the, and there are many instances also we can learn from the scriptures or otherwise also. So we have to be very careful, especially in the material world, in the age of Kali. You have to be very careful, both the genders. So if you wish to become, okay, we have read that. From the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we learn how Lord Chaitanya taught people to break the shackles of Maya and become immortal. So see, if you are in the material world, we can live still, you know, staying aloof from the Maya, or if possible, stay totally away from Maya, how taking the renounced order of life. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you know, instructs. If one is in a position to come out of these material activities totally and take a renounced sort of life, nothing like it. But especially in the age of Kali, that is prohibited, because no, people are hypocrite. In the age of Kali, it's only show bottle, show off people. So it is not possible. That's why in the age of Kali, the renounced order of life is not recommended. It's not recommended. It's not that there are not renounced renunciates or renunciants. There are people, but it is not recommended widely, just like in any other ages. So that's why only those who are very, very determined and who are strictly following can take up the renounced order of life, and they are totally away from the material activities. But those who are in the material activities, they can still lead a very nice life, staying aloof from the material activities. Whatever is minimum required, we have to engage in the material activities. Apart from that, we have to be always in Krishna consciousness. So thus, as mentioned above, the title may be properly translated as the character of the living force in immortality. Okay, the character of the character of the living force in immortality. The supreme. What is the character of living force in immortality? What is the equivalent of Sanskrit? We learned last week. Which book we are referring to here? The character of the living force in immortality. Which book are we referring? Forgot? Nobody remembers last week class. Chaitanya Charita Amrita. Okay. Chaitanya Charita Amrita. Amrita is
my mic was off. I told.
Immortality. So that is that the character of the living force in immortality. That is the Chaitanya Charita Amrita. Okay. Supreme living force is the supreme personality of God. He is also the supreme entity. There are innumerable living entities, and all of them are individuals. This is very easy to understand. We are all individuals in our thoughts and desires. And the Supreme Lord is also an individual person. He is different, though in that he is the leader, the one whom no one can excel. Among the minute living entities, one being can excel another in one capacity or another. Like each of these living entities, the Lord is an individual, but he is different in that he is the supreme individual. God is also infallible, and thus in the Bhagavad Gita he is addressed as Achyuta, which means he who never falls down. This name is appropriate because in the Bhagavad Gita Arjuna falls to illusion, but Krishna does not. Krishna himself reveals his infallibility when he says to Arjuna, when I appear in this world, I do so by my own internal potency. So from here we understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us that we are all individuals, including the Supreme Lord. So what's the difference? We are all person. He is a supreme individual. And he is infallible. That's why he is known as Achyuta, one who never falls down. So living entities in the material world, they have a tendency to fall down, just like the example is given in Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna fell down from his position. Okay, that's why he needed instruction from the infallible Lord Sri Krishna, because whether he is in the material world or in the spiritual world, he is always infallible. But the living entity, when they fall down to this material world, he becomes fallible. Okay, so when we are in that state, we need some guidance to raise our position to understand the things in the right perspective. That is why Krishna is instructing Arjuna the Vedic wisdom, okay, so that he understands what is his duty and comes to that platform and act accordingly. Okay, so that's why the name is appropriate, because in the Bhagavad Gita Arjuna falls into illusion. Okay, isn't it? We all fall down to illusion, but Krishna does not, because he is the supreme individual, he is the supreme Lord. He is beyond all these things. There are two categories, fallible and infallible. Fallible are those in the material world. Infallible the Supreme Lord. Okay, and above these two also is the Supreme Lord. Fallible can be even the pure devotees, but even above that is the Supreme Lord. He never falls down. There is no chance at all for his coming down in any ways. So this is again, he says he comes to this material world with his own potency, which is stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.6. Which is that verse? Anyone remembers? 4.6.
अजो अभिसन् अव्यात्मा भूदानमीश्वरो अभिसन् प्रकृतिं सोमधिष्ठाय संभवामि आत्ममाया.
Sambhavami Atmamamaya. I come down with my own internal potency. Right? Says that. Thus, we should not think that Krishna is overpowered by material potency when he is in the material world. Neither Krishna nor his incarnations ever come under the control of material nature. They are totally free. Indeed, in Srimad Bhagavatam, one who has a godly nature is actually defined as one who is not affected by the modes of material nature, although in material nature. If even a devotee can attain this freedom, then what to speak of the Supreme Lord? So even the pure devotees of the Lord, they are not coming under the control of material nature. They are above the three modes of material nature. So if devotees can attain that position, to what to speak of the Supreme Lord, who is the source of all these devotees, all of us. So although he, along with other devotees, pure devotees, are there in this material world, but they are not of this material world. They are totally aloof from the rules and regulations and from the limitations of this material world. That is what we have to understand. Yeah, any doubts or any questions from this? That means, in brief, the Supreme Lord, wherever he is, in whatever condition, in whichever situation he is in, is always Achyuta, he is always infallible. But when we come down from this spiritual world because of our own desire to enjoy this material world, we fall down to this material. Okay, so that is so. And again, after we practice Krishna consciousness, when we become pure devotees, we can go back to the spiritual world. But since we have a free will, all the individual, at any time we can come to this material world if we desire so. But the Lord, even if he comes to this material world, he comes with his own sweet will, and he is not bound by the modes, or he is not bound by the rules and regulations of this material world. When we come down, we are bound by these rules and regulations of the material world. Is it clear? Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, even pure devotees' chance of fallible, which is contact with the modes of material nature. So again, there is a propensity is remaining in the pure devotee to enjoy. That's why it's falling down.
Yes, because we're all individuals. We are all servants of the Supreme Lord. If there is a desire, we can anytime. Even pure devotees, if they develop a desire, for example, those who have gone there. No, there are two types of devotees: eternally liberated, eternally conditioned, also in the material world. So the eternally liberated devotees who are there in this material world, they are not affected because they are eternally liberated. They come here for a certain purpose. Okay, but those who desire to enjoy the material nature, even in that liberated stage, if they develop a desire, because we have a free will, they can come down as normal human beings. Okay, but in the material world also there are liberated devotees. They are not falling in that category because they are deputed by the Supreme Lord for a particular mission. So that differentiation is there, that we have to understand. Even if suppose we get liberated, we have become pure devotees. Okay, we have been liberated and we have gone back to Vaikuntha or Goloka, wherever it is, because we have the freedom. Because we have the freedom, we can still fall down. But usually it doesn't happen. Just as we understand, those who have been punished and put in the jail for so many years and undergone so many harsh punishment, once they come back to the society after the punishment, will they do the same mistake again? Chances are less, but still we cannot rule out.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my question, because in eternal Vaikunta, there is no modes of material nature, but when the jiva come in contact with the material modes only, there is a falling chance.
No,
But
no,
there
no,
is
not material. See, how will they come in contact with material nature unless they come here? So there in the spiritual world, there is no material nature. There is no three modes of material nature. They're all pure. Everything Satchidananda. But since we have a free will, we can exercise that free will, and that is the reason we are all here. No, we originally belong to the Supreme Lord, Supreme Abode, because we developed a desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. That's the reason we are all here. So now once we go back home, now we have been, in different species. We were cats, dogs, animals, aquatics, trees, plants. Now that we know this material world is Dukhalaya Machashwadam, and we are taking up Krishna consciousness, and we have perfected in this Krishna consciousness, either in this life or in the coming lives, we'll go back home, back to Godhead. Now that's why he said, Na tad bhashedu suryo, na shashanko na pavaka, yad gatvana nivartande tadhama. Once you go to that abode, we'll never come back again, because that is practically there is no chance, but still we cannot rule out. That's what I'm telling. We cannot 100% rule out, because the free will is with us, not with the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord has given us free will, to be there or to be here. The choice is with us. If we obey the instructions, or if we serve as Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nityadas, we are permanent, eternally in the Supreme Lord. The moment we have a slight desire, against that, then we are pushed to this material world. So that is what we have to understand. So the real question is how can we remain unpolluted by material contamination while in the material world? Sri Rupa Goswami explains that we can remain uncontaminated while in the world if we simply make it our ambition to serve Krishna. As I told you, Jivera Swarupa hai Krishna Nitya Dasa. So even in this material world, we can be aloof from these material conditions. How? When we serve Supreme Lord as a servant. As a servant, always we are serving, because when we are serving means we are a servant. Okay, not for our pleasure, but for the pleasure of Supreme Lord Krishna. One may then justifiably ask, how can I serve? It is not simply a matter of meditation, which is just an activity of the mind, but of performing practical work for Krishna. Serve means practice, devotional practice. Not just simply meditate or think of Krishna, but where there is love, there is service also. So when we say I love Krishna, that means that naturally it should be service also. So it is not simply a matter of meditation, which is just an activity of the mind, but of performing practical work for Krishna. So whatever we are doing, in the Krishna consciousness, building, helping, building a temple, cultivating devotees, taking care of devotees, book distribution, temple, services, everything is a devotional service. Everything is a practical work. This is service. So it is to serve Krishna directly or indirectly. In such work, we should leave no resource unused. Whatever is there, whatever we have, should be used for Krishna. We can use everything: typewriters, automobiles, airplanes, missiles. So one should not think that these are all material facilities and we should not use. We can use each and everything if it is for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Okay, even missiles. Prabhupada writes, typewriters, automobiles, airplanes, missiles. Why missiles? That's for war. Okay, so if there is any adharma, like the Kurukshetra war, they used everything, all the equipment, all the ammunitions and arms and everything they used. So missiles also were there, not the present missile that we have now, Scud missile. It's all missiles operated by mantras. Okay, if we simply speak to people about Krishna consciousness, we are also rendering service. If our mind, senses, speech, money, and energies are thus engaged in the service of Krishna, then we are no longer in the material nature. By virtue of spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, we transcend the platform of material nature. It is a fact that Krishna, his expansions, and his devotees, that is, those who work for him, are not in the material nature. Although people with a poor fund of knowledge think that they are. So this is what we have to understand. Those who are 100% fully dedicated their life for Krishna conscious activities, they are not bound by the material nature. They are not in the material nature. That's what Prabhupada says here. The Chaitanya Charitamrita teaches that the spirit soul is immortal. Yes, Prabhuji.
What you told now, this one for all services belongs to Bhakti Yoga. But in Bhakti Yoga chapter in this one, Abhyasa is to asamartosi, matkarma paramobhava, madartama vikarmani, kurvanchitam avasasi. That means if you are failed in Bhakti Yoga, that then you do work for me. That means what?
But you don't work for me. So if first in the 12th chapter, Lord Krishna says, you fix your mind on me and do your prescribed duties. If you cannot do that, practice the sadhana bhakti and engage in worshipping me. If you cannot do that, do work for me. You cannot do that, give the fruits of action for me. Like that, so many. So these are all different gradations. If you cannot totally fix the mind on Krishna and engage all the activities for his satisfaction, then there are different options. Okay. So this is, as far as this subject matter is concerned, this is for the pure devotees. Those are totally engaged by word, by mind, words, thoughts, and deeds, everything for Krishna. So this we are talking about that category devotees. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita teaches that the spirit soul is immortal and that our activities in the spiritual world are also immortal. The Mayavadis, who hold the view that the absolute is impersonal and formless, contend that a realized soul has no need to talk. Some of the devotees who has a different approach, different philosophy, they observe Maunavrat. So Maunavrat means what? As far as they are concerned, keeping silence, not talking. And if they want to communicate, they will write. I have seen such people, they will write and send you. I know somebody in Guruvayur. Okay. He is keeping Maunavrat, but he wants to communicate, he will write it and say. But I'm not speaking, my mind is always wandering here and there in different thoughts. Good or bad, we don't know. That we cannot make out. We are, only Lord knows, Krishna knows. But that is not the Maunavrat that. So as far as our philosophy is concerned, Maunavrat is that you can speak, but don't speak anything material. Speak only Krishna conscious related matters. So that is Maunavrat. No gossip, no worldly, Gramya Katha. So speaking 24 hours Krishna consciousness is Maunavrat. If we engage in material activities, through the mind, but you don't speak with your tongue, that means it is not Maunavrat. Your mind is always anchoring here and there, going here and there, thinking ill of others, finding fault on with others. So what's the use of that Maunavrat? So the Maunavrat actually, as far as Vaishnava tradition is concerned, is not just keeping shut. That's an austerity. Yes, definitely it's an austerity. But what about our mind? Is it really taking Maunavrat? No. Unless we are, in deep slumber. Otherwise, it's not in mouth. Even in the, what is that, Swapna Avastha, we are dreaming. Whatever we have been doing, that will be dreaming. So it may be something good, something bad. We don't know. So that's why Prabhupada is telling here. Yeah, realized soul has no need to talk, but the Vaishnavas devotees of Krishna contend that when one reaches the stage of realization, he really begins to talk. Okay, he really begins to talk means he has no business in this material world. Whatever he talks is all connected with Krishna, and everything is helping the others to advance in Krishna consciousness slowly and gradually. So previously we only talked of nonsense. The Vaishnava says, now let us begin our real talks of Krishna. In support of their view that the self-realized remains silent, the Mayavadis are fond of using the example of the water pot, maintaining that when the pot is not filled with water, it makes a sound, but that when it is filled, it makes no sound. But are we water pots? So this is the, logic that Mayavada philosopher says. When the water pot is empty, when you knock, it will have a sound. But if it is filled with water, it makes no sound. But we are not water pots. We are not, jada. We are not something gross material. We have a chetana in our body. We are a living being. So that's what Prabhupada says. We are not water pots. So are fond of using the example of the water pot, maintaining that when a pot is not okay. We have that. How can we compare to them? How can we compare to the water pot? Because water pot is inanimate. We are animate. A good analogy utilizes as many similarities between two objects as possible. Okay, so we can use the similarities with two similar objects. One is animate, other one is inanimate. So you cannot, draw a comparison between the animate and inanimate. That's what Prabhupada says. A water pot is not an active living force, but we are. Ever silent meditation may be adequate for a water pot, but not for us. Indeed, when a devotee realizes how much he has to say about Krishna, 24 hours in a day are not sufficient. It is the fool who is celebrated as long as he does not speak. For when he breaks his silence, his lack of knowledge is exposed. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita shows that there are many wonderful things to discover by glorifying the Supreme. So people, with good attire, suit, boot, all these things, they look very nicely, they appear very nicely, and people will appreciate, oh, a gentleman. But we will not know till that person open his mouth, isn't it? So that's why Prabhupada says it's, as long as he does speak, we don't know. Only when he breaks the silence, we'll know what type of a person is that. In appearance, he may look a very gentleman, but when you deal with that person, you know how much, to what extent he's a gentleman. So in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes, I offer my respects to my spiritual masters. He uses the plural here to indicate the disciple succession. So it's not one master, he is addressing in plural because he has so many masters. He takes the name of Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, all other acharyas in that line. So it shows that they're all in the disciplic succession. He offers obeisances not to his spiritual master alone, but to the whole parampara. The chain of disciple succession beginning with Lord Krishna himself. Thus, the author addresses the Guru in the plural to show the highest respect for all his predecessor spiritual masters. After offering obeisances to the disciplic succession, the author pays obeisances to all other devotees to the Lord himself, to his incarnations, to the expansions of Godhead, and to the manifestation of Krishna's internal energy. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes called Krishna Chaitanya, is the embodiment of all of this. If someone has read Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila, the first chapter, he is paying obeisances to all of these acharyas again and again, not once, so many times he's expressing or he's paying his obeisances. He is God, Guru, devotee, incarnation, internal energy, and expansion of God. As his associate Nityananda, he is the first expansion of God. As Advaita, he is an incarnation. As Gadadhara, he is the internal potency. And as Srivasa, he is the marginal living entity in the role of devotee. So this is what, in that sloka also, Pancha Tattva Atmakam Krishnam, Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam, Bhaktavadaram Bhaktyakhyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. This is so. So who are they? Pancha Tattva. They are the 5 tattvas, 5 truths. Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam. Bhakta Rupa Surupakam. Okay, Bhakta Rupa. Who is Bhakta Rupa?
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya. Surupakam.
Nityananda Prabhu.
Okay, and Bhaktavadaram.
Gadadhar.
Yeah, Bhaktavadaram. That is his incarnation. Okay, Advaita. And Bhaktakyam. That is Gadadhara internal potency. Okay, Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. That is devotional energy, margin energy. As Srivasa is the margin energy or devotional energy in the role of a devotee. So this is the Panchatattva. So thus Krishna should not be thought of as being alone, but should be considered as eternally existing with all his manifestations, as described by Ramanujacharya. In the Visishtadvaita philosophy, God's energies, expansions, and incarnations are considered to be oneness in diversity. So, as per Ramanujacharya's philosophy of Visishtadvaita, God's energies, expansions, and incarnations are all considered to be oneness in diversity. Okay. In other words, God is not separate from all of these. Everything together is God. Actually, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is not intended for the novice, for it is the postgraduate study of the spiritual knowledge. So again, we have to underline this. We have to understand that although we are not ready to understand the in-depth philosophy of Chaitanya Charitamrita, but still, just as an introduction or just to get a glimpse of what the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have taken up the study of teachings of Lord Chaitanya to just get a glimpse of that. Although we are not yet ready to understand the in-depth meaning and the realization that they want to impart to us. So that's why Prabhupada says it's not intended for the novice, for it is a postgraduate study of spiritual knowledge. So first we have to thorough with the philosophy that is given in Bhagavad Gita. We should have conviction about the Supreme Lord, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, and his opulences. Once we understand that, then Srimad Bhagavatam, different leelas, because when we hear or when we read different leelas of the Supreme Lord, still we have doubt. Is it really possible that it must have done? I mean, it must have happened like that. Is really Kurukshetra what happened, or Krishna is a historic person or imaginary person? Did he really exist? So all these doubts should not come for a person who has that unflinching faith in the philosophy. So that's why the conviction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his opulences. Then after reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we should have that understanding, realization that Sri Krishna has different pastimes, and according to different level of people, we take it differently. So we should take it, accept it, whatever the Acharyas gives, accept it as it. We should not have any doubt. Only then, when we are on that platform, we will be able to understand Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's why Prabhupada is, warning all of us. So it's a postgraduate study. Ideally, one begins with Bhagavad Gita and advances through Srimad Bhagavatam to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the sequence. Although all these great scriptures are on the same absolute level, for the sake of comparative study, Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered to be on the highest platform. Every verse in it is perfectly composed. So it's a postgraduate study. So we also understand that, for example, Lord Krishna states in the concluding chapter, okay, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja. Okay, he states that Sarva Dharman Parityaja, abandon all varieties of religious activities. Okay, and Srimad Bhagavatam starts where he ended. Dharma projita kaidavo atra dharmatsaranam sadam. Okay, that is abandon, leave all the kaidava dharma. Where it ended, it started there in Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it? So reject all the unauthentic dharma. Take up to Bhakti Yoga, that is the highest dharma. And it ends where Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Pava Pranashanam Pranama Dukha Samanas Tam Namami Harimbaram. So what ultimately concluding? Nama Sankirtanam. Everything is Nama Sankirtanam. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is inaugurating the Nama Sankirtana. in Chaitanya Charitamrita. See how it progresses from Bhagavad Gita to Bhagavatam to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So from this we understand, this is the highest study. So in the second verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the author offers his obeisances to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. He compares them to the sun and the moon because they dissipate the darkness of the material world. In this instance, the sun and the moon have risen together. Okay, so Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, the sun and moon, they have risen together. So that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami says. Okay, in the second verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Hare Krishna, today Bhagavad Gita is there. Whose turn?